If you're a beginner in Python or you don't know anything about Python and you want to see a programming language in action, this video is for you. Okay. Direct into it. So a variable name is something, whatever you can name it. So I'm going to name it A and I'm going to give it the variable type int. I'm going to have another variable B and I'm going to give it a type float. Another one C that will have a string. Another one which will have a boolean. So that's variables and data types. And the next thing I will do is I will use them. Actually, you can verify the type of the data just by writing type. This is only for Python. So just to show you that they are aware of the data type. So this is int, but if you write B, it will be float. Although they are both numbers in our head, they're just numbers, but Python recognizes that they are different data types. So now I'll just change this into something. We'll make it 30. We'll make this 10, and we'll write some code here. Difference. And the other one that we discussed in the video, modulus. I'm going to copy the print. Maybe without this. I'm going to copy, just restore that, and then, okay, so sum diff and mod. What I'm doing here is I'm using the arithmetic symbols to add, to subtract, and this is modulus, which I discussed in the other video, which gives you the reminder. And if I run it now, as you see, the numbers 30 plus 10, 30 minus 10, and this is like a perfect division, so there is no reminder. However, if I make it this, then you will get a modulus value of 2 because 14. So that's arithmetic operations, and there is division also. So let's just convert this into division and make it 10 again to see the divisions. That's it. And the next thing is control flow. Control flow is where we have conditional statements and loops. So the same things, if I want them, so I'm going to take an input here, which I want to be saved in a variable. Operation input mention the type. This text is not necessary, but this helps me understand what the program is expecting from me. Okay. And if operation is equal to add, then I'll just copy this. Sum, and then, so if you want to have another condition, you can say elif. So this is sub, then print diff. You can have the last condition, we can put else. So I'll make it 4 so that we can have our own calculator ready actually. So if it's prod, we didn't create it, so we'll just quickly do this. Right, prod, and then the last one, this would be else because this is the last condition. And in else, we don't have to mention anything because this will happen if the others don't happen. So this would be what I named it, diff. Okay, so it's going to ask me what I want, and then depending on what I answer, it's going to give me one of these values. So let's test it out, and I'll have them removed so that you have a good view. Okay, So now we run it. Mention the type. I'll write add. Okay, it gives me 40. This time I will write sub. Gives me 20. This time I will write prod. And you know what will happen if I don't write anything? Or like I write something that is not these three. Maybe my name. This gave me the value of division. You might be wondering why you're getting float. Well, this can be solved just by simply making it int. This will actually give you an integer response. The other thing is loops. So the same thing, you see how I had to run the program 4 times, but instead of that, I can just say this is basically an infinite loop. Or, okay, let's try this first, then I'll explain. And so it's never going to end. It's going to keep asking me. That's how a calculator works. But if I want it to end in certain condition, I can have a number here. Count 0 while count is greater than 4. So, sorry, count is less than 4. So while 4 is greater than count, this will keep repeating. So let's stop this. And thing is, for this to work, even though I was having this program running here, this will still not make any difference because I have to just start it over again for this new conditions to work. Didn't do anything to count. Count has always been 0. So what I have to do, I have to mention every time count plus equal to 1. This is one way we can just add, or this is equivalent to just writing count equal to count plus 1. Write the same thing. Actually, instead of writing it everywhere, we can simply, okay, first I'll show this. This thing, it stopped. Instead of doing this, we can actually do this for once when all the block is done. So here, when my condition is fulfilled, we are still in the loop. So even though the conditions are done, our block is not finished. So here I can say count plus 1 and the same thing will happen. So this is like efficient programming. This is cute. I want this inside of me. Done. Same thing. So that was loops. There is another type of loop, and that will be a for loop. So that's better to, I'll show you for loop here. I'll just keep it for loop, but with a list. So let's see a list first. Then that will be more useful to see the for loop. So functions, I'll come to list. List is basically where you can store multiple values. So instead of having, let's say ABC, I put this brackets and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I want to print all of them. So instead of, like, one way to print is, this is not the best way, but to print is like, okay, what's there on the first? So it starts with 0. Although, like, for us, okay, this is the first element, so ideally it should be 1, but in terms of programming language, it is 0. So I'll just print 3 more. So we want the first element, we want the third element, we want the fifth element, we want the last element, which is -1. Basically what it means is print the last element. Yes. See how beautifully Python asks. Perhaps you forgot a comma. Nice of you, Python. Okay. So first element, third element, as I wanted, and see, this is the last element, so it gave me 7. So I can actually do this for the other elements also. That would be weird, but it still works. See, 4. So that actually gives me the fifth element, but from the up reverse. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So, and also notice that you cannot write -0. So when you're in reverse, that's when like it's 1, 2, 3, 4. But from the beginning, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But what if I want to print this whole list and not write that much code? This is where I will use him. Okay, for A, or I can just say for item, whatever. This is a variable, so you can name it whatever you want. In ABC, print the item. So as you see, that did the work. But if you want to do this in while loop, simply say count is greater len of len of ABC. What it does is it gives you the length of the list or the array, and print ABC count. So ABC and count, which is currently 0, and then count should keep increasing. That is how this loop will actually eventually come to an end. Okay, because I made a typo here. This would be, yeah, this should work now. Yes, list index out of range. You know why that happened? Because I said equal to. So when it reached, this is where, like, because it starts from 0, the length actually doesn't match because it started from 0. So there was a time when the length became 7, but actually that is 6, so that is out of range. This is
Okay.
actually some place where I can show you exceptions, so let's just do that. What if I don't want this kind of thing to happen? So try catch. Oh, we don't need any type here. So instead of the error, we will see error handle. That doesn't destroy our code basically. Anyway, that was just a bonus thing. So how to solve this? Simply just removing this will not cause any error because that matches. Anyway, that takes care of list. And the next thing we will do is function. So let's say we will put this whole thing, oopsie, whole thing in, and we want to repeat it sometimes. So we will say def my loop. You can name your function whatever you want. For now, our function doesn't have anything that it has to take. Uh, okay, so this is now a function, this thing. So we will call it instead of like, I'll show you. So how to call your function, just name your function and you can call it. So it ran. Now this is nice. Okay, we can put some condition. If a equal to 10, which is not actually, only then it will run. It will not run. This is the print from this thing. I'll just comment it to avoid confusion. So if a is equal to 30, this will run. Now I want to do something. I want to make it more. So I'll have count here, which is a variable basically, and this count should be gone. So I will decide what from where count will start. So instead of 0, I'll just say my loop, and whatever I put here as a parameter, it will go to the count. So first, let's just start with 0. But now I want to start with 2. So it became partial because now count is equal to 2. So it
I like
started from
this.
the third
This is
element
cute.
and went off.
I want this
What if I
inside of
write
me.
-1? Not a good idea actually, but let's just do it. Just for fun. It printed the last element and then went out because -1, and then it printed like 0 because -1 plus 1 is like 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it survived. Okay. So that is how a function works, and you can call it, and you can put conditions, you can merge all the knowledge we had from before under this. So we have all of them covered. Comments, as you already see, comments is here. Input and output, with this is output and input, we already did this. But let's still have a nice look at input. Remember the operation, so input. What if you want to, like, let's just do this. Put a number, and then you say if upper equal to 10, print okay. So I'll just uncomment this line. Now it's going to ask me a number. I write 10, but I don't get anything. Why? Let's try to see what happens. What is the data type of upper? It's actually string. So even if you put, it's string. So how do I solve this? Easy. We just have to say if int of upper, now this will match. Okay, done. Because now what I'm doing here is I'm trying to convert the data type into an int. You can do the same for float, but so even in float case, it's a match because 10.0, 10.0. So that's something, that's input, and output. Print would be the output. Okay, so libraries are actually two types. One is like built-in libraries. The other is like libraries that you have to install. So let's talk about the built-in libraries first. So what I will do is I will just import random. It's a built-in library that gives you random numbers. I'll just show you something interesting while we are at it. Random, choose a random integer. This is a function in the library between 1 to 10. And ask me to guess 1 as well. While you do that, if a is equal to my guess what? Then I win. And when I win, I want this misery to end in this program. But I also want to see how I lost in case I don't win. And that I can do when I didn't win, which is print a. Let's go. 5. Whoa, 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 whoa. 5 again. I tried. Nope. Nope. Fine, I give up. Anyway, so that was like, I guessed it right. Anyway, that proves that the program is running. So this is a built-in library, and the other, this is by literally by a guess game, by the way. And the other is you have to install something. So for an example, I'll show you. You probably heard of this. So I think it is kind of now an imported library. Well, I can test it because previously it was installed. Anyway, I want to show you, like, so we have the virtual environment. I showed this in the other video. You can have a look. It's in the channel. So how to download WSL and activate virtual environment. So I'm going to activate my virtual environment to install something that I don't have. I can't have everything. Yeah, so this is installed. Anyway, so that's NumPy. So you can just, you can also choose how you want to use it if you don't want to write the whole thing. So this is probably how you saw many codes. Okay, let's go. Oops, done. So that's the sum of all the numbers, and this is like now an import library, but this is how you can just install the libraries and then use them. So that's all. We covered all the basic topics that we had in the video of programming language. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And if you have more, if you want to have more idea about the concepts, just have a look at the other videos I recommended. One is about programming language concepts. It's very short, only 9 minutes, and the other is how to install WSL and get your Python and Node.js ready for usage. That is actually also a very useful video.